It's the Chick Show. It's the Chick Show.
It's the Chick Show.
Hey,
Hello.
can you hear okay? Do I need to bring up your headphones or anything?
No, I hear you just fine.
All right. Oh my God, there you are.
Hello.
Oh my God. Here
I'm
we
like
go.
a little sneaker.
So I've made one change in here that you may notice. I've got a dimmable light now, so it's right behind you, and now we can. Right.
Wow.
So one of the things that's
Mood lighting.
it really is because it's really bothered me being in here, and I had that other light. It was a chandelier. I don't know if you remember that.
I
or
don't
not.
even remember it.
Oh my God, that thing was so bright. And like I'd come up here for work and I'd have this light like shining right in my eye.
When you get older, better lighting is good.
It's important. So I got this guy and that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted just something very, very simple up on the ceiling that I could dim and just kind of set the mood.
Yeah, just kind of bring it down.
Because right now it doesn't feel like it's 5 in the afternoon.
No.
You know, feels like we're sitting here hanging out after.
Long day at work.
Absolutely. And it probably was a long day at work.
Chilling.
So you're back.
Yes, I am.
I want to thank you for coming on the last time.
Yeah.
I had an incredible response, and I was so happy that you reached back out to do some follow up because I knew there were some things that we didn't touch on.
Correct.
When you're in here the last time. But, not that I really have a time limit, but at some point in a conversation, it's like, hey, let's go back and listen to it. And after listening to it, I'm like, oh man. Oh boy, there's gonna be some stuff she wants to come back and chat about. And I know you've been thinking about it. I know you've listened to it and taken down some notes. And I'm excited.
I wanted to ask you, did you get any good questions that maybe I could answer for you?
Really, it was really interesting. Had a lot of positive, like thumbs up. I guess, it's almost like a like. It's not the same, but it's just kind of a yes or no type thing. I had quite a few, and I could probably look them up, but I don't want to mess up.
You're fine.
But a lot of responses on the the Q&A of a lot of feedback. It's really interesting to see the type of feedback that comes in for a podcast. It's not like what you see on social media. I think at some point you're probably driving when you're listening to this.
That's usually when I like to listen, is when I'm driving or cleaning, something that I just want to keep my mind busy.
Yeah. And so I don't worry so much about the feedback that I'm getting.
Right.
I see the listens. 200 people have heard your story, and it's still continuing to gain traction. So I don't worry so much about the feedback because I don't give feedback. I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Right.
I'm on the road a lot, and I don't text and drive for one.
I don't really give a lot of feedback on podcasts, but you said you got some, so I thought, well, maybe he got some questions maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you never know when people are listening, what they're thinking.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like,
I wish I would have known that. I had one person say, I didn't realize it took that long to get the death certificate for the autopsy for all that stuff. So, I think if there's not an autopsy, you don't have to wait that long,
Yeah, we didn't have to with my father.
Yeah.
And he had put in his will that he didn't want an autopsy. He didn't want any.
Yeah. I didn't want him to have to go through that, but it wasn't my choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fine.
It's good to know though. I mean,
it is.
You got children that are still young.
It is.
I think it's important that they know, hey, this is something that could be hereditary. My mother had I think they're called ischemic strokes.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like mini
Ischemia.
stroke. Yeah, ischemia. And the night she passed away had over 20 of them within a few short hours.
Yeah.
And so it's important. I think it's something important for me and my brothers and my sister to know, and my children to be aware of. Hey, this is something that
is in our family.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'll just kind of touch on my notes. One of the things I wrote down here at the beginning was I know I'm a female and I know I'm not his bloodline, but it became kind of important to me to be more proactive about my health. So I reached out to my doctor, and she pointed me in the direction of getting a heart scan. I guess you can go get a heart scan for $49.
$50.
Yeah. And they check all 4 chambers of the heart. look for plaque build up, any of that kind of stuff. You get the results pretty immediately. So that's just something to kind of be proactive about.
Is it just through IU Health or do
Well, I go to IU Health, but I'm sure other hospitals
Yeah.
offer this stuff.
Yeah, for $50 for
Yeah.
peace of mind. A few years ago, I think it was, oh my gosh, I'm having a moment. Scott Blakely's brother, Chris, had I think he'd had a heart attack of some sort. And I apologize if you're listening. Please send me a message. Let me know so I get it right. And
Clear it up.
I'll put it out there. But I remember them talking about it at a soccer get together, and or something. I can't remember exactly where we ran into him, but it was like, okay, I'm gonna go get it done.
Yeah.
You know, it's something I need to get done.
And I don't think it's something you have to do very often. I mean,
no, I wouldn't think so either. Sorry, we're kind of off topic, but
no, you're good.
A friend of mine called me, and this is someone who's not real close to me. His name's John Williams, but John and I are friends, and met him through Jennifer, and we became friends working through JD Byrider. Jennifer dated him for a while, and then Jennifer and I got together, and then John actually called me to ask me if I wanted to come work with him. It's really
that's
interesting.
cool.
Yeah, but great guy, and John has made this public, so I'm not, I don't think I'm crossing any lines with him, but he called me up, and he's like, how's things going, blah, blah, blah. We're just in the middle of a regular conversation like you and I are having. And he said, hey, have you ever had a colonoscopy? I'm like, that's kind of an interesting question, but I'm sure there's a reason you're asking. But no, I haven't. He said, well, I know you're getting about that age, and that's something I'd like to encourage you to go get checked. He said, I recently found out I have colon cancer, and it was because of that I was able to get on top of this quickly.
Right. I know at age 45 is when they recommend it.
Yep.
So we're definitely in the box.
So, oh my God. So you just said box, and it's really interesting because I just went to the doctor, and my nurse practitioner said, hey, why don't we go ahead and get the Cologuard?
I did that.
Yeah. So, and I've got this whole bit that I've been working on about shitting in a box.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's really interesting because it's not a box.
It's not a box. It's like a bucket.
Yeah, it's like you got to poop in a little bucket though.
And there's so many restrictions. And I was reading this and I'm thinking somebody had to have done this, and that's why they put a warning: do not overfill it. Do not.
Right.
Like what?
Don't put poop up inside the thing. Like,
yeah.
What? Dude, who's playing? But honestly,
can't be like liquid. It has to be solid.
I spent a drive. So, and this is before I went to the doctor, and she told me I was going to get one of these Cologuard boxes mailed. But I was just thinking about, who is there receiving this shit box?
I was wondering that too. Like, what do they think?
What a shitty job that must be. I mean, what a stinker of a job that has to be. To be the person that gets the box in the. So I would not
want to be that person.
I've got like a 20-minute bit on this whole thing.
Like I could find a million things I'd rather be doing.
Did you watch Saturday Night Live? Ever?
Yeah, I did.
So there's a whole there's a song out there, and it's Justin Timberlake and one of the Saturday Night Live people, and they talk about getting a box, cut a hole in it, and it's a.
Oh my God, that's great.
It's and
that's great.
This whole time, I keep singing that song in my head. Only I'm singing, I just took a shit in a box. So. I send Jennifer a text. She's going to kill me for this one, man. That's okay. I sent her a text, and I'm holding the box like it's ready to ship. And I said, I shit in a box.
Do you want to know something so funny?
Step one.
Oh, my gosh. So I set my box outside and alerted them and told them it was ready, right? Ryan said, the raccoons are going to come along and realize that it's not Amazon. Well, then I left the next morning and I said, oh, they didn't take it yet. And he sends me a selfie with my box.
Oh, God. It's such a bizarre experience.
It is, but it's better than nothing.
You're right. Well, I'm awaiting results. So
okay. Well, they don't take too long.
Hopefully they'll find out, just as I have known for years, that my shit don't stink.
And it's just fine.
And
everything's coming out fine.
Right. I'm a perfect asshole.
Did you put
I'm gonna have to
did
put
you put
disclaimers on
cologne?
this one.
Did you put cologne on your
No, I did not. I didn't. I should have. God, that would have been so good.
Oh,
Somebody would have got that. Who's the person opening that box? And they're like, I can't wait to see what's in this
you
box.
should have hung like one of those little green trees in there.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's so good. See, that's why we need these podcasts.
Oh,
Give
my
people
God.
Ideas. Man. So
That's
anyway,
great.
God, I'm so sorry.
No, it's cool.
I had to talk about the, that
We're
that
talking about
experience.
health.
We
I mean,
are.
why not?
We are. I know I need to get my eyes checked. There are things I can't read anymore. And,
Yeah.
I realize I'm not 50, but somebody's 50th birthday was today, Tracy Harris.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Tracy.
So, I made sure I sent her a message and told her. And a lot of our classmates, have you turned 50?
No, I just turned 49
Darn right you
just
did.
now. I'm the
That's right.
baby.
That's right. That's right. So Jennifer and I are still 49 through January, and I will. I'll turn 50 at the end of January. She's somewhere toward the middle. So
All right. So you
Yeah.
guys are only a few weeks apart.
10 days.
Wow.
10
That's awesome.
days. Hers the 17th. Mine's the 27th.
That's wonderful.
So I'm sorry, man. This is what is magical about podcasting. And you've talked a little bit about wanting to get your own podcast started. And
Yeah.
man, I can't wait to help you with that.
That'd be
And
exciting.
to listen to someone else get so far off track, and get in a shitbox situation
Right.
like we were just in. But, so you got some notes?
Yeah, I got some more stuff here.
I like it.
So another thing that I just jotted down here was I kind of thought it was really good that David and I actually had a conversation. Kind of some of the things that we wanted to happen if, we were the one that went.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I jotted that down is because I feel like since I knew some of the things he wanted, it really eased my heart when I was at a time of everything was just so heavy,
Mm-hmm.
So for the fact that he said, I want this, I want this, I want this, then when it came time, I didn't even have to think about it. So I guess I would just encourage you that if you're not comfortable enough having that conversation, or if your spouse isn't willing to hear you, or whoever your next of kin is that you're leaving in regards, write it down somewhere, put it in a drawer, and say, it's in that drawer if something ever happens. Because it's such a game changer when you have to do that stuff, like you said, when your dad, you had a really detailed will.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you didn't have to, there wasn't a lot of gray area.
There was no guess.
And I'm telling you, if you would have had to that was hard.
Yeah. And I was thinking about that when we were talking the first time that,
Yeah.
I think I'd ask you, do you guys have a will? And, even through this, still haven't got it done.
I haven't either, but I've given it some more thought.
I think
Hey, we're already winning because we did the box.
that's
We're
true.
one ahead of most people our age.
Well, I think, for me, for you, obviously we've talked about the difference. It's different losing, a parent and
Right.
spouse, obviously, but having that, and I won't call it a burden either, because it wasn't a burden. It was something I was very proud to do.
Oh,
for my
yeah,
dad, and I'm
most
sure you were
definitely.
very proud to do too. But having that knowledge and knowing here's what their wishes were.
Right.
Boy, it just took so much weight off
It
of
did.
us. I haven't shared a whole lot about losing my mother, but she was in a very poor situation health-wise after having multiple strokes, couldn't speak for herself,
Right.
couldn't communicate in any way of what she wanted, but we'd known that she did not want to live in that type of condition. She would rather die
Yeah.
than to live in a high intensity level of care required.
Right.
I don't know what else, how else to put that, because there's many different ways to see it, but that was a decision we had to make as a family. And I'm very thankful my dad allowed my siblings and I to have a voice
Have a
in
say,
that.
yeah. And I did that for my kids too, I think it's important.
It is.
And that kind of gateways me into my next topic that I jotted down for you. And that is, you said your dad knew what your mom wanted.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the things my therapist told me to do was to write David a letter and tell him everything. Like, So glad I got to meet you. And I'm angry at you because you didn't go to the doctor. And I wish you would have said something. And just all these different emotions, and why did you leave your socks on the floor? Just anything
Sure.
that you wish you could have said to them. And then you flip that little paper over and you write, Dear Lisa, I already know what David's going to say. I hated going to the doctor. I don't want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I left my socks on the floor because they stink and I wanted you to smell them. I mean, things like I know what he's going to say. Yeah. And I think that what that loved one's going to say. You wish you had that last conversation or whatever, but we really already know, if you know him well enough,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's so true. I'm reflecting a little bit on that. You were talking about journaling before we got started here.
Yeah.
And boy, I wish I was a journaler. This is my journal.
Yeah, I get it.
It's very difficult for me to sit down and just write, but for me to have a conversation. I don't like to
write either. That's why I kind of want to start a podcast, just because I enjoy talking, I enjoy people, and I just enjoy it,
Yep. So I hope. I was talking to the guys that were here earlier. I had Eric Wilson. If you need any electrical stuff done, see Eric Wilson.
He is very good.
He is incredible. But I was talking to them just about the one fellow, Ron Blakely. He wasn't familiar with podcasting, and I was telling him it's just a chronicle, man. It's just a way to chronicleize and have conversation and to share it out. So I encouraged him to go to my website, check it out. Hopefully he does. I can't wait to see. But this is there's therapeutic qualities of it, just like with the journaling.
Right.
Boy, to be able to get that out and say that with the intent to say it to him.
Right.
You're writing it to him. I think that's really cool. There's many times I've had conversations with my mom and my dad. Either just driving in the car or going out to their graveside.
You know what they're going to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
My daughter has mentioned that a few times. She said, Mom, I just wish I could call him. And just what would he? I said, you already know what he's going to say. You already know. Just listen to yourself. I mean, you already know.
I mean, how cool is though you have those recordings where you can still hear his voice.
Yeah.
I'd kept a voicemail from my dad for quite a while. It's gone now.
I had one from my grandma and I thought it was gone. Man. But it's okay. I mean, it is what it is. I probably got home videos somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's not the same.
You're right.
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
But it's okay.
It's there. It's something. It's that whole idea that you get to share him with a generation, with your grandkids that don't get to that personal opportunity. But at least there's something there.
You want to know something so funny? I was talking about his feet stinking. This is just a funny joke here. Well, not really a joke, but it's just reality. Okay, so at the hospital, they removed his shoes, okay, for like the autopsy stuff. Well, then the day of everything, they asked me, do you have his wedding band? And I said, no, the coroner took it. They had it on his person. I didn't get anything. So they had to track that down. Then the funeral home says, do you got his shoes? And I said, no, he had them on his feet. Like, those are the shoes I want on him. Well, we can't find them. We can't find them anywhere. So I took another pair of shoes up there. They brought me those shoes back that was on his feet. And they are sealed airtight. And I have not opened them.
I'm not going to lie. I knew David well enough. I'm sure that bag at one time was probably like, vacuum sealed. But now
it's probably fermented and
it's ballooned out, like a good pizza dough.
I was teasing my daughter. I said, I don't know what to do with them. And she goes, just open them up and give them to my dogs. Because one year for Christmas, he wrapped up one of his socks and gave it to one of her dogs. Awesome. And they loved it.
That's so good.
I don't know what else to do with them.
You brought some things along with you to share.
We were talking about journaling, so I thought I would share just a couple of like journal entries just because they're kind of, I don't know. The one book that my daughter got for me, Letters to My Husband in Heaven, it actually kind of leads you into, it asks you a question or something at the beginning of the journal entry, and then you just kind of fill in the blank.
Yeah. Can you share that?
Yeah, I'm going to share this one. The book or the...
Yeah, share the book.
The book is Letters to My Husband in Heaven.
Okay.
And it doesn't have an author. It's just a journal.
Okay.
I don't see.
And what are some of the prompts?
So, okay, I'll read some of those for you. The day you died. Right now, I feel. My first night without you. If I could go back in time. If I could ask you one thing. Something I liked about you. And that's actually a page I wanted to share. I don't know where all these receipts came from, but okay. So something I liked about you. There are so many things that I loved about you. First and foremost, your love for me and our children and your family, and my family. You seriously could love to the fullest, comforting me when I was hurting, being with me when I felt less than, and supported me when I screwed up. And you literally have no boundaries when it came to that. I am far from perfect, but you didn't make me feel less than that. In fact, you would defend me when I was in the wrong. And yes, I said it. I was wrong. I'm sorry, I can't read my own writing. I'll just go to the next paragraph because I can't even read that. Loving you has always been easy. I'm sure there were times that I was difficult to love, but loving you has always been worth it. Your laughter and warm embraces are so missed these days, and I will never forget the day that you made me feel in quite a, I don't know, I can't read my own writing. You could tell these were wrote in the moment.
Yeah.
Your love was the best kind of love. And then I had one other one in here I was going to share because I asked Scott, which one should I share? And he said, both. So.
Well, of course I want both shared. I mean,
Well, why not?
yeah.
The hardest part about our ending is that I didn't see it coming. You left for work that morning and never came home. I never got to kiss you goodbye. I just said, have a good day, and left at 6:00 in the morning, and you were still asleep when I left. When Jeff called me from your phone, I had no idea that you were already gone. Jeff didn't know it either. He only knew that it didn't look good. I hated thinking about what you must have went through that day, feeling. And Jeff said that you told him that morning that you were having some chest pains and indigestion. I hate that I never got to see you at the hospital, but I also know that you wouldn't have wanted me to have that vision burned into my memories. I just wish I would have known something so that I could have embraced you one last time. I would have woke you up and told you that I loved you and reminded you how amazing you are. The worst part about our ending is that we have one. I never wanted to say, see you later, not in my lifetime. I just knew that you would outlive me, but God called you home.
I'm going to have to make sure that when I put this out, like when I go back in and throw in the intro and stuff, to tell everybody to just stop their car for a moment. This may not be the best driving.
This might be more of a cleaning one.
Yeah. And you were asking earlier about some feedback I'd gotten, and it was a lot of feedback about, that one got me. That one made me cry. A
lot of people told me that too. And some people would even say, like, I can't listen to it all in one sitting.
Yeah.
I had to pause it, and
it's hard.
And I get it.
It's hard.
And I listened back to it and I thought, man, I didn't sound super sad. And it's not that I'm not sad, because I am sad by the whole situation. But I think I've just learned how to cope through it.
Sure.
And I've learned how to separate that stuff, because otherwise I would just be a ball of emotions all the time.
Right. And then it would be a whole different type of,
a whole different life for me too.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been very open with Jennifer that if something were to happen to me, I want her to live. I want her to continue to live and find love again, and to find joy and make sure she's happy.
Is she like me and say, I'll never do it again? Or does she say, okay?
No, I think, I think she understands that I'm mature enough to hear her say, yep, I hope to find love again,
If something happens to you.
Yeah. I, on the other hand, I'm like, I ain't never doing this again.
Right. I said the same thing. Same thing. It's not fun. I think it's just because I was with him for so long. I was like, I need a break. And now that I got a break, I'm like, okay, I didn't really mean that.
And it's not about a break for me, and it's tongue in cheek, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
It
You invest.
is.
I've invested all of me into creating this life together,
Right.
and I am so vested in it, and I'm sure you guys were too, to where the idea of investing all of that again, it's overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so proud of you for taking ownership of your life after this
Thank you.
event happened, and to say, yep, it was something I didn't think I would do again, but I realize my life continues, and the joy in having, I am sure I would need a companion. I'm sure of that. And because of the void that Jennifer fills for me, there is so much she does for me just by being here. And you can recognize that
can, yeah.
better than we can, because you've had that void not filled, ripped from you. So I think it's so important to recognize. Sure, I'll often I do say, I ain't doing this again.
Right.
But I think deep down I
Once
realize,
you're faced with it, you'll
boy,
feel a little differently.
I cannot. I number one, I can't imagine life without her.
Right.
Right, and
She's always been there.
and I hope, that continues. For both of our lives, and we get to live a long and fruitful life. I've told her multiple times, 80's about it. But there are times when I'm like, hey, maybe
I could do
120,
100.
maybe 120.
Maybe I got 100 in me.
She's like, oh God. When I say it that way, then she starts realizing, holy crap, I don't want to be this kind of 120. But no, we have been very fortunate to be able to have those open, honest, and candid conversations with one another, to know what our wishes are, what we would like. But the problem with that is we haven't put it on paper.
That's okay, because if you're married and you're her next of kin, you know what her,
Absolutely.
So that's okay, but it's not on paper.
Yep.
Now, God forbid you guys are in a wreck together.
Sure.
That'll be a whole situation. Yep. But as long as it's one or the other.
Yeah. And fortunately for us, I think our kids are aware of that too, and they know what our wishes are, and it's not like we have a whole lot to leave to them or anything.
Right.
But, one of them hopefully will want the Bob Ross painting. It's all I care about.
You think you don't have a whole lot to leave, but let me tell you,
man, I know.
you probably have a lot more than you think. And you'll be like, well, I didn't even care about that. And your kid will be like, I loved that. You don't even realize how much it meant to them,
Yep.
It's kind of interesting.
How special is that?
It's pretty cool.
Give the shoe to my dog. It's not about the dog.
It's not about the dog.
It's not about the dog.
One other thing I jotted down here was that what to do for someone other than giving them flowers. I feel like anytime you hear about somebody that passes away, well, we ought to send them flowers.
I know.
We ought to send them flowers. Let me tell you. My living room is 15 by 19. So it's a large room.
Yeah.
My whole floor was covered nut to butt in vases. It was terrible. Yeah. Not only did it smell like the funeral home, but now I'm like, who? My mom came over one night. I remember specifically. I said, Mom, we're having pizza tonight. Stop by and get some. She said, okay. I ran it out to her with a vase of flowers. She goes, what are you doing? I said, if you want pizza, you have to take flowers.
Oh, that's so good.
Because, there was just so many. Plus, they're like, what, $60 for a bouquet of flowers?
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying don't send flowers if that's what your love language is and that's what you want to do for somebody. That's okay. But I had some people that did key things for me that was a game changer, and those stick out to me more than the flowers. And those things were, one person came over and mowed my yard while I was gone. I just came home, my yard was mowed. I had a friend come over. I had a million people bringing in food, lunch meat, chips, plates, cups, soda, just all kinds of stuff. She came over and cleaned my house. She organized everything, swept my floors, sat out in the yard with me, just downtime. And I didn't, because I think I look back at it now and I think, man, I must have been so scatterbrained because I don't let my house get chaotic, And it wasn't that it was bad. It was just there were paper plates here and there and some over there and bags of chips everywhere. And I'm, could someone help me put this together so that it doesn't feel so overwhelming when I walk into the space,
You were mentioning, people coming to mow in your yard, and I had an accident in 2019, and it was in the middle of a move. So Jennifer and I were moving from a 3,400 square foot home, 3 acres, and all the stuff we'd accumulated in that house 15 years to a 900 square foot house with a 1-car garage over in Muncie. It was kind of our tweener house, in between.
Did you have a storage unit?
No, we did not.
Gracious.
And it was the great giveaway of 2019.
The great giveaway.
But I remember my nephew, Brandon, mowing our yard over there because I couldn't mow the yard because I had a broken back and I couldn't really get around. But I was sitting in the garage giving things away. They'd be like, "What about this? You want it? Yeah, I'll take it." And that was a great giveaway. And Jennifer's doing the same thing in the house, with people. But every once in a while we'll grab something when we're at families' houses now.
Give it back.
We won't. Yeah, we'll take it.
Can I have my...
No, you don't ask.
Oh, you just take it.
Yeah, just take it.
Okay.
I got almost back to Madison one time with a table that's out here in the hallway.
Yeah.
And my sister-in-law called and said, "Hey, where's that table?" But anyway, I remember Brandon mowing my yard and how, man, I just remember thinking, I can't even mow my own yard. But I was so thankful that he took the time to get out the new mower because, we went from 3 acres to a small city, like
push mower.
Yeah. And he put the mower together because I just bought it, hadn't even put it together yet. He put the mower together, mowed my yard, like bagged it, like did all that. And so many people helped us. And in a moment of, just
it feels overwhelming.
Absolutely.
And you're, man, it's like you got all these balls in the air and you're trying to keep them all from falling on the ground. And if you could just hold this one ball over here, that'd be great because that's one less I got to keep up. So mowing my yard was nice. Yeah. Now he left in November, so it was like the last mow of the year.
Yeah.
But Lord, David was the great procrastinator. And so my grass wasn't very short.
I would have never guessed that.
But anyways, another thing that someone did for me was instead of buying flowers for $50, they made a donation towards services for $50.
Interesting.
I was like, you know what? That is great because that took a little bit of the burden off of me,
Yeah, and you see, I mean, that is something that we see more often now, not necessarily toward the services. I would never have thought of that. But donations towards a charity or whatever.
Yeah.
But boy, a donation towards,
Yeah, if you're wanting to do something for their family.
Holy crap, that's a great idea.
$25, $50, whatever. Whatever you were going to spend on flowers, just
hand it to the funeral director.
There's little envelopes in there, and you just sign your name on it.
Wow.
I sent a thank you card out.
I never would have thought of that.
Yeah. I also got a few throws, like blankets.
Yeah.
And I got some wind chimes and some birdhouses and things like that, lanterns and different things, which are good because they're not going to die.
Right. Yeah. One of the ladies I worked with, and it may have been the teachers in Madison, but I just remember Susan giving me one of those lantern things. That was really special.
They're nice.
And we got throws from different from Jennifer's dad's passing and from my mother. And
you still have that now. The flowers
absolutely.
Are gone.
They're gone. Yeah, and that's something where I'm not a big flower person. I'm terrible about it. Partly because, and Jennifer may argue this, but I remember her telling me the flowers will die. Why don't we do something different that, a memory can be made or something like that?
Yeah.
So it's not very often I get flowers for her, but every once in a while, like during the summer, I guess it was maybe once, I went out and picked.
Picking flowers is better than buying them.
And we got a ton of flowers around the house.
I'll always vote for that.
Yeah. I just put some in a vase, set them. It was probably one of the vases we got from,
That's fine. I have a million vases too, by the way.
I was just thinking, if you want to do something with them, donate them back to the
flower shop.
Flower shop and say,
I
hey,
thought about taking some to like the funeral, or not the funeral homes, but the nursing homes
oh,
and
yeah. Oh man.
different places, that they might,
Yeah.
I don't know. Just thought about it.
Yeah. I like that. Thanks for sharing about, giving to the family rather than a charity or whatever.
Or
I mean, just
buying them a meal or something.
Yeah.
I honestly would just rather them donate towards the service.
yeah.
Because once you get that final bill and you see those little minuses of 25, 50 coming off,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, wow,
That's really meaningful.
these flowers, yeah, they're nice.
Yeah.
And it's not that you can't do it or that it's not
Right.
appreciated. It's just, they're going to die.
Well, I mean, in that moment, the flowers are wonderful,
Mm-hmm.
and it shows appreciation. It shows condolences. It is appreciated.
Right.
But you've had time to reflect on
Right.
the entirety of the situation, and if it would be very simple to sit there and say, "Oh no, I appreciated the flowers; they were incredible," but I wouldn't have had it any other way. But we're talking about something real here. You're being very revealing,
And I
very
think
honest, and
if you really want to do flowers, do a house plant.
oh yeah,
I mean, those things will live for a while.
they should.
I mean,
They should.
if you're decent to them.
No, but I just think it's really it's really meaningful to be that candid and say, be more creative in that way.
Yeah.
And I will say I appreciated the flowers. It was beautiful and it smelled nice and yada yada.
Right.
But
But if you see a need, just fill that void
yeah,
and don't. If they're gone, you go over and do their laundry. You wash their dishes. You do something that when they come home, they're like, wow.
it's the history teacher in me that is
Uh-oh.
kind of holding up right now because I just want to share the reason for flowers. at
Okay.
funerals.
All right.
The reasoning
I
for
was sitting here thinking it has to be something that we've always done for years ago, and that's
It
why
is.
people still do it.
it's very similar to why there was boutonnieres and what's the
Corsages or
right?
Yeah.
So a boutonniere and a corsage. Think about the placement of where a boutonniere would be on a male, right?
Right.
It's right in the chest.
Right.
So when you're dancing with a female, typically she's shorter than the male. Where would her nose go?
Right by his chest.
To the boutonniere. The flower smells good. It covers up the smell of the BO. Because bathing wasn't
It lures her in.
it's not allures her in. It keeps her from running away because bathing wasn't something we did every day back when boutonnieres became
Right.
popular. Same with the
Corsage.
corsage. That goes up around
His
the male.
neck.
And
Yeah.
where can he smell now? Up around his neck. What's up around his neck? The corsage, the flowers, the smell of the flowers is what he smells, not her armpit because they didn't have deodorant.
So, are you going to do this with Jennifer? Give her her corsage?
No, but
I need you to wear your corsage tonight, honey.
no. No, we shower. We're showering people.
Oh, okay.
But thinking about the flowers at a funeral,
Mm-hmm.
we are talking about a body that would be, on display
Right.
and the reasoning for flowers. And
Right.
so it's the history
For the
teacher.
fragrance.
I'm having a moment here. I can't
That's
help
all
myself.
right.
I got to
It's
share.
okay.
And so I think there's precedent now where we can start looking, okay, there's a new way we can do things. Tradition is fantastic. I love traditions,
Me too.
but I also am someone who I really like my milk to come after it's pasteurized, and that knowing there's not going to be, they're just
Things that have changed and evolved aren't always bad.
right. Some things can be,
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry for my rant.
No, you're good. You're good. Another thing I jotted down here. These are just kind of therapy things that I remember thinking. One of them here is my therapist told me just because you think it doesn't make it real. So an example of that would be, I think they're upset with me, or I think they're mad at me, or I think they're disappointed in me. That doesn't mean it's the reality.
Sure.
So I can't hang everything on that. Should say, did you ask them? Did you, and this can be true in relationships of all types, Did did you ask them? No, I just, the way they're acting. And she's like, we don't play that game. They're probably not mad at you. They're probably having a hard time too. Or they're probably,
Sure. Maybe they have a question they want to ask, and
yeah,
they're worried about.
what the answer might be or how I'll react
Right.
or,
Yeah. Sure.
just because you think it doesn't make it real.
I'm in one of those moods today.
Uh-oh.
But just thinking about that, there's a meme out there where it has the male and the female laying in bed together, the couple laying in bed together, and she has the little bubble. I bet he's thinking of other women, and he's laying on the other side going, "Why are they crickets? Why are they crickets?" So it's kind of like we think we know what the other person is thinking, but without asking,
You really don't.
know. I mean, Jennifer will look at me sometimes. She'll be like, "What are you thinking about? You're thinking about something.
Right.
What's going on?" And it literally might be, do I really want another C10 pickup truck, or do I want to try and get an old Ford this time?
Yeah.
And if I got the old Ford, could I get the one? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I do know.
Literally what's happening in my head or whatever. And oh my God, we think it's something that maybe it's not.
So, in the therapy part of it, when you're going through all that and you just feel alone and all these other emotions that you go through, it's like, maybe you shouldn't be feeling that because that's not really the reality.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just a food for thought thing, I guess, there. Another thing that my doctor shared with me when I first started all my processing, she said, well, you've had a trauma. You've had a trauma and you need to think of yourself as being in the intensive care unit. And you need to let people that nurse you in the intensive care unit take care of you. And it's okay to let people do that because you have been in a trauma, And I guess I never really looked at it as a trauma,
Yeah. Well, it
And then-
certainly is. And we're getting so much better at brain research.
Mm-hmm.
And they can literally track and see how trauma changes the wiring in the brain.
Right.
There is a change that happens. And our brain is very plastic. It's able to be molded and shaped and changed on a continual basis. But trauma is very real. And I think for so long we've heard you just got to suck that up.
Mm-hmm. I was white knuckling everything because I said, I knew that it would hurt. I knew that I would, I don't know, become isolated. I knew, I expected all these things,
Mm-hmm.
So when I finally did kind of reach out and get some extra help, it was like I could no longer hold on the white knuckle type situation, I guess. I just always been taught to kind of bear down and go through it,
Suck it up.
Yeah, just suck it up.
Yeah.
Rub some dirt on it.
That's
Old Peyton Manning.
Listen, there are some things where we do need to do that.
Right.
Where we do need to challenge ourselves to become stronger. But there are other things where we need to reach out and ask for some help, to seek some guidance. Because we don't have all the answers.
Right.
And I think that whole suck it up or rub some dirt on it or that sends such a message that it becomes habitual. So no matter what it is, it's very different. I fall off my bike, I skin my knee. The life-changing event is getting back up on my bike.
Right.
Right. And we'll get some wound care. But we're talking about the loss of a
loved one. Yeah.
And that is not something that you just rub some dirt on it
Right.
and get a Band-Aid and move on from, Do you want to get back on the horse? Absolutely.
Right.
You do want to get back up, but there is guidance available in that type of trauma,
Right.
So I think it's really important. What prompted you to seek that?
Well, I shared the last time that when I finally did seek help was when I started feeling suicidal. So I knew depression was part of it. I knew that loneliness was part of it. But when I started feeling like things would be better if I wasn't here, when I was driving down a road that's 30-mile-an-hour zone and I'm going 90, winding around it, and I finally get to the end of the road and I stop and I'm sobbing because I'm like, okay, I'm still here, So I think that it had to take something kind of earth shattering to me because I'm an adventure seeker. I can't say I'm not because I do love zip lining and roller coasters and things like that, but I'm not a careless person or one that would take my life at risk. So when I recognized things that were out of habit or out of character for me, that's when I kind of reached out. And I remember specifically Troy telling my family, he told all of us, but I remember him saying to them, you know each other the best and you're going to hit some hard days. You're coming up on the holidays. You guys are going to hit some hard times. All the support that's around you right now is going to kind of fade back. You have to watch out for each other. If you see this one slipping, you need to be proactive to help them. If you see this going on, then, reach out to the appropriate people. I remember that, and that prompted me. I was like, I sat at that stop sign and called my doctor. And she got me in later that day. I don't know if it was a God thing or if she just had an opening or what, but I went in later that day and started what I would like to say is my new beginning of my new, you just kind of feel like you spiral down. I don't know how else to explain it. If I felt like nobody understood.
Sure.
Of course, everybody's lost people, but have you lost your spouse?
Right.
You really, I'm not saying mine's worse than yours,
Right.
Mine's different, but man, it just felt so earth shattering. I'd go home to an empty home every single night, and it was just,
Yeah.
So I think recognizing that there was things I was doing that were out of my character, I think that's what kind of prompted me.
It takes some bravery to own it.
Yeah.
Especially with ourselves. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's one thing when we realize we've wronged another.
Right.
When we've wronged someone we're very close to that we love, and to own that and to stand up and stand in that arena and say, that's me. I did it.
Mm-hmm.
I own it. I'm sorry. Whatever it might be, but to stand in our own reflection and say that to ourselves. Why is it so damn hard for us to
I
apologize
don't know,
to
man.
ourselves?
I don't know. We hold ourselves to such a standard.
Well, it's because we know of all our own flaws.
Right.
We have picked ourselves apart
Right.
to a level.
You can stand in the mirror and call everything out that you hate about yourself. But then someone that just met you could look at you and say, he is a really nice guy. He's,
right. Right. Yeah.
And they see nothing of what you see. It's crazy.
So true. And I think there's power in both of that. I think recognizing all your flaws and continuing to push yourself to be better, to overcome, yada, yada. But to apologize to yourself for the way you've treated yourself, to realize I need some help.
Right.
Is it's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
It's an American cultural thing to where we don't want to show any sort of weakness, even to ourselves.
Right.
Because if we admit it to ourselves, then it's really real.
Yeah.
It's one thing for somebody to say it to me, Scott, you're whatever.
Right.
But when I say it to me, then it's real. And culturally, we have to realize that we all have a weakness, and many of them.
Right.
And that's okay. That it's okay to have some sort of weakness and to be vulnerable, like being able to say the word vulnerable, being vulnerable enough to say, that's something I'm not good at.
I'm really not doing my best part right here.
I'm not my best.
I gotta
self.
change this up.
Yeah.
I
think once we evolve to that, we can really start to see our best.
I definitely
version of
grew in those moments.
Yeah.
I
absolutely.
definitely grew. And then my counselor was just amazing. And I remember telling her, don't just talk to me. Don't just sit here and tell me everything you think I want to hear. I need you to give me action.
Yeah.
You got to tell me because I need a job. I'm going crazy. I need something to do to make this better.
Do you think everybody's a taskmaster? Because I'm that way.
Oh man, I don't know.
Taskmaster. I think to myself and I'm like, I need something to do.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what I need to do, and I'm going to go do it.
I'm that way.
Yeah,
If somebody's moving in a house and you've got 15 people standing around, just give me one job.
that's it.
You want me to go put that bed together?
That's right.
That's what I'll be doing. If you need me, that's where I'll be.
Yeah,
Everybody doesn't need to stand here and watch you put your dishes away.
yeah.
You know?
Oh God.
I'm that way.
Yeah.
Get a lot more.
Jennifer is that person
Ugh.
as well. Don't stand and watch, and then don't even ask. Don't ask. What do you need me to do? Freaking look around, be an adult, and figure it out.
There's a
right?
ton of stuff I want you to do.
Right. If you ask me that, you're asking for it.
Somebody says, "What can I do?" I'm like, "Well, if you're just going to stand there, you can rub my shoulders."
That's.
I mean,
You're looking at your notes.
I am looking
I
at my
like
notes
it.
here.
No, I like it.
Another thing that I thought was one of the best pieces of advice that I got. Because a lot of times when you're in your emotions and you're hurting and you want to hurt, makes you want to hurt people. Hurt people, hurt people. You've heard it.
Yep.
So when you're in those emotions and you're in those feelings, you just want to lash out and you want people to feel part of what you're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the best things that anyone ever told me during this whole process was that I just need to be quiet. Just be quiet. They said, be quiet when you feel like you want to explode. Just be quiet. The silence will fall on deaf ears, basically. It will make people, even when you're talking about dead silence on the podcast, it makes you pause and think,
Oh yeah, gives you a reflective moment.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
for sure. It's so interesting you say that because that is something I worked really hard at as a principal and especially as an assistant principal was not responding. Not responding.
I do that at work a lot. I just look at them.
I can recall telling teachers that. Why do you need to respond? And I would tell students that. Why do you need to respond?
Because they want the last word.
Well, sure. There's power
They
in
want to
that,
be right.
I-
But I think that's where it comes from when you're hurting. You want to be right or you want to be heard.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just think of the art of war. If somebody attacks you, what are you going to do? You're going to retaliate.
you're not going to hunker down and wait for the storm to pass.
Absolutely. I feel like I've done a much better job of just shutting up. And I have a
Me too.
podcast. I have
Right. I love it though.
30 hours of recording saying that I don't shut up. And here I am saying I shut up. But I think I do a better job of just being
Right.
quiet. And that can be a tactic
Right.
almost. And I've used it as a tactic.
So it's helped me in relationships, with, like I said, if just because I think they're mad at me doesn't mean they're really mad
Right.
at me.
Right.
It's helped me too to kind of just pull back and reflect and not put everything out there and not, I don't have to.
Don't open up something that you really didn't want to open.
Right. And I know the truth.
Yeah.
You know the truth. So it's okay.
Yeah. No, I think that's really good stuff.
That was a piece of good advice that I got, but then okay. Finding healthy ways to cope.
Okay.
So, of course, there are bad ways, alcohol, drugs, things like that
Yep,
are definitely
self-medicate.
negative, but finding things that are healthy in your life that can help you cope. If you love to bake, lunge into that. If you love to clean, lean into that. I mean, don't just sit in your grief and just solitude and just be sad and, find something that you're passionate about and give yourself a reason to get up every day. So many people, my kids especially made this known to me. They always said, "Mom, you're so strong." And I'm like, I don't feel strong. I feel like the weakest person in the world here right now. Something breaks, I have to find someone that can help me. I mean, there are some things I can do, but I'm a girl. There's things I'm good at and things I'm not,
Picking up great big heavy rocks.
It's not on my list.
Not on mine anymore either.
But they told me the reason you're so strong is because every day you get up and you put your feet on the floor. Every single day. You don't stay in bed. I made myself a checklist right when he first left. I have to shower at least 3 times a week and I have to eat at least one thing a day. I don't care how much I eat of it. I don't care if it's just a little nibble or if it's a whole pallet. I don't care. But I have to do those things, and I have to, because I thought, man, the days just run together. It's like when you're on vacation.
You don't even want to do.
Well, when you're on vacation, you're like, is today Tuesday or
Right.
wait? I don't know what today is.
Did I shower?
And when you're off on bereavement, it's like I don't even know what day it is or what time.
I'm pretty sure I showered this morning.
Right.
Was that today?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, just I guess being aware and
Sure.
finding healthy ways to cope. I leaned into photography. I've been doing it for a while, but I really kind of leaned more into it. I pulled back a little bit when he first left just because I wasn't in a good headspace, but it's something that I'm passionate about, and it's something that I love to do, and so that's something I do. And then, if it's not going to hurt me, I'm going to go do it. I'm going to go ziplining. I'm going to go race a golf cart. I'm going to,
It's interesting. I was thinking earlier if there was one thing you could share with our listeners that the one thing you miss the most, and that's such a hard question. And I've heard multiple things that
one thing I miss the most about being married, or about my relationship with my late husband, or
your relationship with David.
One thing I miss the most. Well, it might be in my journal.
Sure. And you don't have to share, just.
Let me think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
I'll come back to it.
And then the flip side of that, what has been the one thing, and I think you've answered it, what is the bright side of that?
What would you think my bright side is if you think I've answered it?
I think what you've done is you've realized that there is life to live.
Yeah.
And to live in that moment, to not have to.
I would agree with you, because I feel like I was always so cautious. I have money in the bank. I have a savings, but before I was always like, ugh, so cautious. But now I'm like, you know what? I want that $5 coffee.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I got my bills paid. Everything's okay. What if tomorrow doesn't come?
And I can hear you saying that.
And it's
without
not,
saying it.
yeah. And it's not that I want to splurge on everything all the time, but if I feel in that moment that I want to do something, or I want to, then I want to do it, I don't want to be held back from, I don't know, the stigma, I guess.
Yeah. No. And I appreciate that. And that's what I meant. I could hear it. You're saying it.
We're at the age where you got to think about retirement,
Sure.
20 years or so, we're going to be retired. And
20. Man, I'm going to figure this thing out in like another 15, dude.
I'm younger than you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Whatever. Yeah.
I got you by like 8 months.
I'm still 49. We kid.
No, but I mean, we're at the age where we got to think about that stuff. So you don't want to just blow everything all the time, but also in the same tactic, I remember David always saying, I'd say, let's go away for a weekend. He'd say, let's just pay the electric bill.
Man.
Oh, that drive me crazy.
It's funny you say that, because there are times when I say that to Jennifer, and other times she says it to me, so we balance each other out.
So frustrating. I'm like, we will still pay the electric bill. Can we just go away for the weekend,
Right.
And so it's important to me to be present in those moments,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's definitely something that I've taken away from everything.
To kind of piggyback on that, we went to Louder Than Life last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And for those that are listening, don't know, and I don't know if you're familiar.
I'm not.
It is the biggest music festival in the United States. 180,000 people or so visit that over 4 days. So I'm a huge metal fan. I love heavy metal.
Right.
It's been in my blood.
Never would have guessed that.
In my blood since I was really young. I talked about it on one of my early podcasts, but I want to bring something up today.
I know you talked about heavy metal, but I would have pegged you for a classic rock guy.
And I love that too, but you put me in, I cried at Pantera.
Oh.
I'm tearing up a little bit now thinking about it, because I had seen them in my youth, and I seen them again this year, and I'm getting chills thinking about. I realized there's there's probably not going to be many other chances, and the amount of memories, emotion. I was just overwhelmed, and I
Right.
just stood there at the end of the show. And Jennifer's like, "Okay, let's go. We're gonna." Go. I just stood there, and I said,
I need a
I
minute.
need a minute." And you know, there I am. I'd had quite a few adult beverages, and you
Right.
know, just enjoyed a show.
Yeah.
Heck, there was a 10-year-old boy standing there with us in the sea of 60,000 people, and I'm maybe 50 feet from stage. So there's a mosh pit in front of me, a mosh pit behind me, crowd surfers everywhere. There's a 10-year-old boy that's standing behind me, and we had a friend go with us. Taylor's there, and Taylor's like 6'9".
Right.
He's a huge man, and Taylor protected this boy through that. But watching these what appear to be extremely violent mosh pits happening, and
Right.
for those who have never been in a mosh pit, know that it is controlled chaos.
Yeah.
The people that are there, like I ended up in a mosh pit during Limp Bizkit this year, and I took some dude out. I'm 49, and I took this 20-year-old dude out, and you know, like when it's all over with, he come up and gave me a big high five. He's like, "Dude, you took me out," and I'm like, "I'm so sorry, man." And he goes, "No, it was awesome." Yeah. So just know in those moments. But here's this 10-year-old boy that we protected, and we made sure that he had someone there to keep him safe. So
Where
he
were
could
his
enjoy the
parents?
show. They were back on the lawn.
Oh, he
I
just
couldn't
wandered
believe
himself
it.
up.
They knew where he went.
Okay.
They knew he was going to try and get up toward the front. And they said, "Not all the way. It's too rough up front," and which it is.
Right.
It's very rough up front. But when we went, they give you wristbands,
Right.
and you pay everything with your wristband. So you never get out
Like
your.
when you're on the cruise. Have you ever been on a cruise?
I have, but no, I
You
didn't
get
have
like
a
a little.
wristband.
Now you get a little badge, like a little
really?
lanyard,
I
and
don't
they
remember
scan that, and that's how you pay for everything on the ship.
Well, okay, similar thing. And after it was all said and done, I mean, it's a stinking $12, $15 beer, right? And
So
we
it was
decided-
really good.
We had someone, absolutely. we had someone there with us that was driving us.
Right.
We didn't have to worry about driving back and forth, and you know, so we could pregame, we could postgame, and be safe in doing that. And when we got when the weekend's over, Jennifer's like, "I don't think I even want to look and see." I said, "Just don't. Just don't. We had a great time.
Right.
Just don't. For once, let's not even look
Right.
and see what that cost us."
Right.
And I still haven't looked. I don't
I'm
know
so
if she
proud of you
has.
for that.
But we decided we were going to go have a great
And it's
time.
not about being crazy. Like that's what I mean right there.
Yeah,
It's not about being crazy, frivolous with your money, but it's about living in that moment.
Absolutely.
You know?
And we saw some amazing bands. Let me tell you, Foo
Yeah.
Fighters they kill it. Got to see Foo Fighters, got to see Weezer, Tool, Pantera, Megadeth. I hadn't seen Megadeth live ever.
Really?
Oh my God.
I've never seen them either.
Oh, he still talks like he's got something going on in there. It was just,
He's angry.
oh man, it was such a great time. And then Green Day was the last show of the weekend, and
Where was this even at?
Louisville.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, all my Southern Indiana people.
Louisville.
King Louisville. Who was never a King Louis, I guess. But anyway, Jennifer's like one person away from the fence. I couldn't get to her. That's how packed in it was for Green Day. I would guess a friend of mine posted we probably had $1,000 tickets. You know, if you were to say where we were in the crowd, $1,000 seats for Tool, for multiple bands. Great time, but we enjoyed it.
Right.
And for once, we didn't come back and count receipts.
Right.
You know, we just enjoyed our weekend. And we enjoyed our weekend when we got back from the weekend rather than living in regret.
Yeah.
Just
I shouldn't have bought
enjoy the
that
weekend.
$12 beer.
Right?
You know,
That-
you enjoyed it.
That which one?
One of many.
That $15 margarita.
Right. So I think, okay, so I've had a few minutes to think about it. I think one thing that I really miss is just having that one person that just won't leave me,
Yeah.
you know? Because when you are married to someone, You can't just leave.
Right.
You can't just, oh, I don't like the way you're wearing your shirt. I'm out of here. And I'm not saying that it's like that now, but I'm just saying
Right.
that feeling of they can't leave me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You get mad, go to bed. We'll try it again tomorrow.
Yeah.
You're not leaving.
But there's some reality in that, knowing
It is real.
that they can.
Yeah.
That kind of hit me
And
right then.
knowing that even though you're married to her, she can still leave against her will, you know. But
Right.
it's, I don't know, man. It's
Yeah.
a hard one. And when I started photography back up again, really hard again, I was doing weddings, and when they'd say "till death do us part," man, that part got me every single time. And it still kind of does, but it's not as bad. But it's
Dang
a
it,
rough
man.
one.
That was a big one.
You don't think about things like that until you've been through it,
Yeah.
you know?
Wow.
Someone that loses their parents, you've went through it, so you could kind of walk beside them and kind of guide them and help them.
Yeah.
But you don't think about what it's like to lose your spouse.
What's interesting is I was a junior high teacher, principal, a coach, etc. And I always created a very open relationship with my kids. To where we would have real
Right.
conversations
Right.
and treated them with respect, and
Right.
so we could jab at each other a little bit here and there.
Right.
Just and every once in a while the kids would say something like "your mom," and I would say, "My mom's dead,"
Oh, no.
and they would. Oh God, I'm so sorry, Mr. Chick. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't. And I'm like, hey,
It's
right now my
fine.
mom is chuckling. And she's mad at me a little bit,
Right.
but she's laughing because I got a funny reaction.
Right.
I said, you never know what you're gonna say to people, what they've been through.
Right.
Just be thoughtful of that. Be thoughtful about the words you say, and
Mm-hmm.
with you saying, "with death to us part." Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's, and to be at a wedding every time, and it's coming.
I used to joke with David, and I would say, "You better be nice to me. I'm the only wife you're ever going to have until you die."
Oh.
That's terrible. But I didn't mean it literally.
No,
I
yeah.
was just poking at him,
Just say it. Yeah.
Right?
We just
Better
say
be
we're having
nice to me.
fun and- Whew.
The last thing I have wrote down here is just that, well, there's two things here, I guess. Ignoring your grief will make it worse in the long run. So if you just keep pushing it down, and not handling or coping with it, it's going to hit you up from out of nowhere, and it's just going to overwhelm you like a tidal wave.
It's that seeking.
It's
care.
going to make it worse,
Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned this last time we talked, but do you care for yourself as well as you care for your pet?
Yeah.
That is it's a 12 rules for life Jordan Peterson thing. That one hits me all the time. I think about that quite a bit. Do I
Right.
treat myself as well as I would treat my pet?
And I'll remind you of that, Scott. You probably don't tell your pet that they're not good enough, or they're
Oh,
too
right.
fat, or they're too slow, or they're.
Yeah.
I mean, don't say
Smudgy-
that to yourself, because,
Only thing I say to Smudgy is, "Hey, little buddy.
hey, little buddy.
Hey, little buddy." He is a little dude.
And then the last one here is there's not really a timetable to feeling better.
Mm.
I mean, you kind of got to take it at your own pace. You kind of got to just let it happen,
Yep.
and don't put that pressure on yourself of, it's been almost 2 years for me. I should be over it by now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think not putting that pressure on yourself is huge too.
Yeah. Well, we talked about, the stages of grief, and it's not a linear thing. And that there is no timeline. It's not like, okay, well, it's been 3 days and
You're done with the shock.
there we go. Now it's time to move into the next and hit hello, your stopwatch. You need to make sure you put this in your calendar
Right.
because it doesn't work that way.
Right.
I've been without my mom for since 2000. Oh God, 4 or 5. It's terrible. I can't remember the date.
It's almost 20 years.
Right, and so and it has been. It'll be 20 years this Thanksgiving, I believe. So
So that'd
for
be
19
3.
19 years. I don't even know.
Anyways,
Yeah, it had to be 2004 or 5. My brother right now is probably going, come on, Scott.
you know this.
But I don't think they listen to my podcast anyway, so I can say anything I want about my siblings.
Really?
Yeah,
I bet they listen.
I don't know. We'll find out now. But I just looked up a moment ago. You were talking, and there's a picture of my mom with Addison on the wall there, and
Yeah.
and I thought, I'm not done. I'm not done grieving her being gone, and that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. I get to choose how that works.
Mm-hmm.
I get to choose when and I say I go to their gravesite. They're not there.
Right.
They're ashes, and they've been cremated. They're not there.
What did you do? That's the thing I want to ask you about that. What? Okay, so David was cremated, and the funeral home told me if I take him somewhere or do something to let the funeral home know so they can document it. So that way, if somebody ever does genealogy, they would know where he's laid to rest. So, are your parents cremated?
Yes, both of them.
So, what did you end up doing with their ashes? Because I want to do I'm going to take him to the Grand Canyon
Yep.
because that's something him and I wanted to do, but I don't want to take all of him there. Is that weird?
That's interesting because I kind of have a little bit different philosophy on that.
I
And I'll share a couple things.
don't want to let all of it go. Is that weird?
There are a few different things.
Okay.
So I'll just be blatantly honest. My parents' ashes are currently in a closet here in the house.
That's funny that you say they're in a closet because the funeral home told me that they get a lot of cremains brought in
I'm sure they do.
that are at homes that were bought, and they're like, we don't know what to do with these. Will you guys take them? So it's
Wow, I
interesting
can't
that you have
imagine
them in your closet.
I can't imagine leaving them somewhere.
I don't know. Oh, well, what if you left? What if you passed away?
Yeah, sure.
And then somebody buys this house? They're going to say, well, I don't even know who these people are.
Ours are in. My parents are in there's one that's a little suitcase, and the other one's like a little, like a Foot Locker type box.
Yeah.
So they don't look like.
Cremains.
Yeah.
Now, David's in an urn, but inside the urn, there's paperwork from the funeral home.
Gotcha. Same.
So that if I travel
never
with
opened them.
him,
I've never
I
opened
have.
Yeah.
If I travel with him, then they won't confiscate it.
Gotcha.
Because I guess people that love to do illegal drugs hide them in cremains.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah. So they will confiscate your loved one.
I've had a few things come up, and I'll just tell you where I stand on it.
Okay.
Just it's me. It's just who I am, and what I think my parents would have believed too. So, I would like to take them to the Smoky Mountains, and
Together.
together, and spread their ashes together at the same time.
All of them.
All of them. And the reason I feel that is because they should be whole together.
Right. Now, see, I've given my daughter some ashes,
And I've had requests from family members for like a
necklace or something or
tattoos,
jewelry.
different things.
Mm-hmm.
And I strongly believe, at least for my dad, he would not want that.
Okay.
And part of that is because he was very specific, did not want an autopsy. He did not want a funeral. He very specific.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to utilize my knowledge and relationship with my dad and my mom that they are going to be together in whole when we spread their ashes. My hopes are that my siblings can all go together.
Go with you and
when
do
we
it together. Yeah.
It's going to be very difficult to do that.
Yeah.
So, but I'm still holding out hope for that.
Put it on the calendar.
Yeah,
Make them
I know.
make a plan.
I know. Yeah. So
That's the hard part
is.
is making time to go do stuff.
it is.
If it's important to you, you will make time for it.
Yeah. At one time, I thought my dad would be in the Mississinawa River.
Really?
Yeah. But we all agreed they wanted to be together in the Smoky Mountains, and we're sticking to that plan.
That's not even that far away, is it? Wait, am I confused here? I'm not a geography person.
5 hours.
Okay, then we can do that on a weekend.
I would think so.
Let's do it.
My brother's in Texas.
Well, that
So
one's
I'd
a
have
little
to
hard
fly
one.
up, so, but we'll figure it out. So
Right.
that's my hopes.
I would make it. I would tell them, hey guys, this is what we're planning
Yeah.
on doing, and
Yeah, I'd love to do it on their anniversary. And my mom's birthday was April 3rd.
oh yeah,
So, boy, you talk about man. Can you imagine having your birthday on the same day as your anniversary?
well the
You're
thing
cheating
is
yourself out of a gift.
your dad never had to forget one or the other.
Oh, he forgot it, I'm sure.
I strategically put our wedding anniversary on the same number as David's birth number, so they were both on the 23rd, different months.
Yeah,
But I was like, don't ever forget the 23rd.
that's awesome. Well, great stuff. Any last thoughts?
Let me see here. I don't know if there's anything in this one.
What is that? What is?
This is just a journal that I had that I wrote in literally the days that he left. So I don't know if there's anything in here or not. I guess I can read a little bit of one of them. They're pretty lengthy.
Please do.
Oh no, they're pretty lengthy.
We can end the podcast on that, like we did the last time with David.
With his voice.
Absolutely.
That's kind of cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a great way to end the second one.
All right. So November 4th was the day that he left, and this was wrote on November 5th.
Okay.
All right. So the next day, we woke up and realized this nightmare had continued. We got up and around, and I spoke to the funeral home that day, and social media was on fire with everyone sharing their condolences. I was so overwhelmed, so our daughter Amanda was responding to everyone and thanking them. To this day, I still have no idea who all messaged me. That day was a blur. Later that day, his mom, stepdad, sisters, and our children were all sitting around with so many people bringing food in and out, paper plates, cups, napkins, etc. My neighbor brought over KFC for dinner, and we ate some of that. Didn't really have lunch. I remember one of my friends coming by with some fresh homemade chicken noodle soup, which I lived on for the next 3 days. We spent that day gathering photos and preparing for what would prove to be a full week of pure hell. David left on a Thursday, with the autopsy not being done until Monday, and the funeral home got him on Tuesday, and I was able to have services on Wednesday and Thursday. I recall one day we had to go to the flower shop because I didn't want flowers on his casket. I wanted a blanket throw. So I selected one and took it to the funeral home. I had to take him different shoes because they were missing, which I shared with you earlier about that.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually the coroner came up with the shoes, but it wasn't until after the time that they could have already been used. I decided on cremation because that's what David wanted. It was so weird to think about everything is just so final. Why does death sting so bad? The next few weeks, Amanda stayed with me, helping me out any way she could. Austin and his wife stayed longer at our home for support also. I recall feeling so overwhelmed and like nobody could possibly understand what I'm going through, the pain of losing your best friend for the past 29 years. My house seemed like chaos. I just wanted to be left alone to have my thoughts, my sadness. I felt like I had to be strong for everyone that stopped by. And at the same time, I felt like I was given the strength that I needed to endure what was to come. The hours drug on, and I just couldn't think clearly. I had to force myself to eat something every day. I think it was about 4 months before I had to force food and actually think, have I ate today? I remember not feeling like doing anything at all, and it was just a good day if I could remember that to eat something, take my medicine, and take a shower and sleep. Insomnia was my worst enemy. The day of David's viewing, I wore comfortable clothes, and I knew it was going to be a long day. I had the viewing for 5 hours, and I had a private viewing time for our family and children prior to that. I just spoke about who I invited up. This was the first time that I'd laid my eyes on David since he had left. The night before he left, I did take one of my anxiety pills, so I was able to be present and get through the day. I recall walking in the back door of the funeral home, and they met me at the back door and asked me if I was ready for this. With some hesitation, I nodded, and the kids and I walked ahead, paused in the hallway, and was overwhelmed with sadness and guilt. Felt fear, denial, pain, anger, confusion, you name it, I had it. Amanda saw me struggling and came by my side. She said, "You've got this, Mom." So I gathered myself and began slowly walking towards that casket.
There's a lot. I don't know what else to put in there. That's a lot. Yeah.
It is a lot.
Well, I know I sure appreciate you sharing and in our conversations. And
I appreciate you having me back on. I just had so much more stuff I just wanted to share.
God, I don't know if we're done.
Hey, I'll come back anytime.
I'm just saying. I think there's more to this that I just think there's more.
I think if you've not had to go through it, you just like you said, the kids don't think about things when they say things, and adults don't either. But I think until you're faced with it,
Well, it's definitely not something we want to
even think about.
Right. We're gonna end it. Got to end it somewhere.
That's all right.
And man, thanks for sharing your journal with us.
Yeah.
Freaking awesome.
It's hard. It's bad that I can't read my own writing.
I was getting lost in the moment. So, all right, cool. Well, you gonna say we're out?
We're out.